Hello. Welcome to my stream. So some four topics today because there are four things I want to talk about, and nobody watches this anyway, so who cares? So Mercury and vaccines, and labor statistics, parties and culture, Ecclesiastes and Jesus. So let's get into it, if that's actually the case. Mercury and vaccines. So basically, this is a reasonably interesting story. Basically, RFK has some kooky opinions about vaccines. I don't agree with all of his takes. However, I do think that if you're going to inject everybody in the universe with something, it should be safe. I think that's a reasonable take to make, especially if there are different alternatives. So there's this chemical called thimerosal, which is a mercury, uses mercury in its creation, that's used as a preservative. Mercury, I'm not comfortable having that be in all of our vaccines. Like, it's mercury. Like, personally, my viewpoint is that even though Europe does have a lot of issues, its health and food regulations are not one of them. Their food regulations are pretty solid. Same with Japan's. They have pretty good regulations on that stuff. Better than ours. For whatever reason, maybe they don't have as much of a profit motive in the healthcare system. Maybe that's it. You can go into all kinds of stuff of why they have a better system. But they do. And you know that because when you walk around Europe or Japan, people are healthy, especially Japan. So most European countries do not have this thimerosal preservative. So I don't see why we should have it. And like, that's not a scientific case to be made that, oh, they do something so we should do it. But I don't know a good argument for having it when Europe doesn't. I don't think that we have a better FDA than European countries do. I just don't think it's the case. It strikes me as something that like people set like to use the steamer seal like 50 years ago, and nobody's looked at it. And I don't think it's healthy to just say, "Oh, if you say anything against the vaccines whatsoever, you should be shouted down as being anti-science." It's like, no, that's ridiculous. Um, that's just an absurd claim to make. There are some reforms that you can make, and it's fine. It's not even about vaccines. It's about the stuff that's in the vaccines with the chemicals. Like, it's not about, oh yeah, giving your body cells a chance to see a dead version of the sickness before you get it for the live version. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me scientifically. The fact that it has to be housed in mercury does not make sense. Like, do we have reasonableness here? I think that's a reasonable take to make. That you should be able to have a vaccine that doesn't have mercury in it. Like, that's, we got science, man. We have technologies to preserve things beyond mercury. And if we're giving it to every single baby, it's kind of an issue. Just saying. So, good move. I am nervous about whatever changes that RFK makes moving forward, but this seems to be a win. I'm not gonna be against this one. Now, if he like makes vaccines illegal, whatever, sure, okay, yeah, that's bad. But I don't see that happening. And it seems like this is like a very small change, and the fact that it took 6 months for this to happen tells me that he is fighting through a lot of pushback. Um, so if there's that much pushback, are you really worried about it going too far? Not really, no. Especially because of like whoever we get next as health secretary, they're not going to be as fighting about this as RFK. So, labor statistics. So people are making a big deal out of the labor statistics. Woman getting fired after she announced bad employment results. So there's a few different causes of this that could be the case. Why did this happen? One people are going to be jumping to quickest is that Trump doesn't like the numbers, so he fired the woman. Probably something to that. If he liked the numbers, she wouldn't be fired. That's for sure. Um, Another possibility is that the numbers are wrong. So apparently these numbers are like off by 80% every year. Like, you're missing them by hundreds of thousands of people over and over and over again. So They were negatively estimated for from January of last year to September, and then positively estimated 3 months right before the election. And then they went right back down to being negatively estimated. And it's not just a small like 5%, 10% difference. It's like an 60 to 80% difference in what the real numbers are and then what the correct numbers are. That's not good. That's not good. I mean, you can make policy based on numbers that are that bad. So maybe Trump is sick of getting bad numbers, and the numbers are so far off that what's the use of a data analyst if the data is 80% off? Like that's worse than useless. If you say you don't know, you can make adjustments based on not knowing. If you say you know, you don't. So that's the worst possible thing. Step three is that maybe um, she suggested that there were numbers that were good in the previous 2 weeks, and then released numbers that were bad. So inconsistency between the predicted numbers and what the numbers actually were. It's probably a combination of all of these. Personally, my opinion is that all economic numbers are bunk. Um, let's say GDP. Let's explain why GDP is stupid. GDP is the gross domestic product. So if you merely imported 1 billion people from Swaziland, what's a fake country? Kazakhlandia? I don't know. Sorry, Kazakhstan. If you imported 1 billion people from Kazakhstan, nothing against Kazakhstan, mind you, but if you imported 1 billion people, GDP would skyrocket. Because look, we have so many more people, and some of them are producing stuff, so therefore the GDP goes up. Never mind the fact that the wages and all the crime and all the shortages and all the fact that people don't have enough hospitals, schools, whatever. That none of that is taken into account. Or let's say another example of GDP. Let's say you just had a program that moved a dollar from one account to the other account and then back over and over and over again at infinitum. That would greatly increase the GDP because there's all this trade going on, all this movement of money, and of course it would be meaningless. GDP is a stupid number to use. Like it is a good general basis for the power of your economy, but doesn't say anything for the people in it. Or unemployment. Oh, let's say unemployment. Oh yeah, unemployment's down at 3%. Yeah, we all know that isn't the case. We all know it. We all know that's not the case because the issue is that somebody stops looking for work because either they give up or they're lazy or health issues, whatever. If somebody gives up, they don't show up in the statistics because they want to be unemployed. So that number looks really good until you actually look at the labor participation rate for men aged 25 to 50, and it's plummeted. And it hasn't even been caught by the unemployment statistics. Um, it's just difficult. These numbers don't work. These numbers are always propaganda for whoever's in charge. And yes, is Trump like doctoring the numbers, mad about the numbers not being what he wants? Yes. Did Democrats do that under Biden? Also, yes. Under Trump, yes. It's always the case. You can never trust government data on economics. You can't trust economics. Economics is bunk science. I mean, it's not real. Um, can they predict anything? Like that's the way you know if somebody has knowledge. The ability to use that knowledge to make a prediction. If their prediction is accurate, they have knowledge. If it's not accurate, their model is wrong. A worldview is a model of reality. And if you can't predict things, then your worldview sucks. Best predictor over the past 10 years, probably Scott Adams. Cartoonist. But he's got a good model. So yeah. Economic numbers are always bunk, and if you trust them, you're being silly. That's when people are like, "Oh, do you trust anecdotes?" Yes, I do trust anecdotes. I trust what I see in the world around me. I see what people talk about. I see what people tend to be concerned about. That's what you see. Um, and yes, it's biased by your experience, but at least your experience, you know what your biases are. So yeah, how do I think the economy is doing? I think a good number is probably median income. Um, that's probably a good starting point because that's the average, not the average, the median person. As many people make more as make less. It's probably a better number. And don't get me wrong, America's still got a good economy for the average person, but GDP is just not a good way of measuring it. And so all economic statistics are bunk. Um, unfortunately. Parties and cultures. I actually went to a party on Friday night, which was fun. It was like a board game night. We played this game called it wasn't Cards Against Humanity. It was Loaded Questions was the name of the game. And basically, you go through and you go in a circle, and people ask questions, and people answer them, and whatever answer is right the most by the person picking the answers gets to pick it. So there's one guy, got big guy, had like a lot of really really funny pervy answers, and that's all fair and good. Like that's just it's fun to have pervy questions and pervy answers. There's nothing wrong with that. But then when you get into the actual conversations with people, it's like, wow, the whole because I'm kind of out of it. I'm weird. But the whole dating landscape, I kind of forget about it most of the time because I'm not in it. I don't get hinge dates. I don't get anything like that. So I don't see it that often. Then you go to a party and have these conversations with people, and you're like, oh my God, it is a nightmare out there. Like, it is not a happy place. Like, everybody is like, oh, modern dating's so good because everybody's treated equally. I'm like, what are you smoking, sir? There's no evidence of that whatsoever that the current market works for anybody. People are like, oh, it works great for women. It's like, no, it doesn't. Oh, it works great for men. No, it definitely doesn't. The only people it really works for is like a small minority of men who like get to have harems. That's all it really works for. I'm like, hey, it works great for them, but like, don't expect everybody else to be fans of it. That's why I look at the T app. People are like, oh my God, the T app, it's women being terrible. It's like, yeah, because the men they date treat them badly because they all date the same men, and most people, if they're treated with an unlimited supply of people, don't treat those people particularly well. It's supply and demand, man. If you have an infinite supply, you don't value that supply very highly. It's just how it is. If somebody has 10 cars, they don't care as much if one car gets busted. It's just how humans have always worked. Well, the answer is obviously like going back to more traditional roles, but nobody wants to do that because that would require rules and following them and staying inside the lines. And people are like, oh, I don't want that. But those lines are useful. Anyway, it's a mess out there. I'm glad I'm not particularly in it. Um, Final story. So it is a Sunday, so it's Bible discussion time. So the two main readings, I forget the second reading, is basically Ecclesiastes, and Jesus has a story about the guy who saves up grain. So to sum it up, Ecclesiastes is basically the writer's rant about how everything is meaningless, and you work, and then you don't get your toil, and then you labor, and somebody else gets the results, and it's just so relatable that that kind of story has been around for 3,000 years. It's like okay, we knew the score really early on. And Jesus has the story, and this is one of those stories where like I wonder if tone really captures it because it kind of sounds like a joke. I feel like Jesus laughed a lot. Like he joked a lot. He wasn't like, oh no, it's set up like a joke where he's like, oh, there's this rich guy and he's really rich, he's saving up everything. Then he gets this big harvest and he saves up everything more. He buys bigger buildings to store up all the grain that he's gotten. So the rich guy got richer, builds bigger housing for his riches, and he's planning just to take it easy. Then the day the extra housing is finished, God comes by and is like, "Your time is up. You're gonna die." And it happens, and so he dies, and you can't enjoy anything he's produced. If you told it the right way, this would be a very funny joke. Rich guy tries to be richer or dies. It's dark, but it's funny. So there's different ways of interpreting it. The way the priest talked about it, he said we got to be storing up treasures in heaven. So what that means is basically don't worry about gaining more and more and more money. Worry about your spiritual growth and gaining spiritual riches. I think that's true. Panic attack. Jeez. Yeah. So I think that's true. The other thing that's probably true is like, well, what is your money going towards? You're just saving up stuff. That stuff, when you get extra grain, you're supposed to be planting more grain. So whatever resources you get, you need to be growing them to be more. Not for the sake of getting more, but just for the sake of investing what you receive from God. Or giving it away to people who actually need it. Like a lot of people have a really, really tough time right now. Um, People don't have enough, and it's like it used to be you had rich people who like create Carnegie Mellon University or create museums or do this and that or whatever. But like I feel like the current ones are kind of like, oh no, you just gotta be live quietly. It's like, yeah, or you could spend it and then actually let people like get something out of it. Just storing it up in a box somewhere. And that's where the economic gains are going to. Is that so many of the gains right now are just going to like safety deposit boxes and it's not actually being used or it doesn't exist. So it's kind of now you need to save up a certain amount of money just to take care of yourself. And I guess that makes sense. But there's a temptation, especially as a single guy, to kind of just say, money go up. And that's not apparently what we're supposed to be doing. Which is a lesson for me, I guess. But I'm not sure where your money should be going though. Like you're supposed to be giving it all to the church, I guess. Maybe. Maybe that is where it's supposed to go. Anyway, that's all I got. But my job is basically so tech is so uncertain that like I just don't want to be burned. And that's the conversation that's going to be all about heads in tech. Anyway, that's all for now. Cheers.